Hey, welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is Brian.
This is Darryl.
And Darryl, this is going to be a serious one. So just a spoiler warning for everybody. This is episode 491. And it's been a week since Charlie Krik was assassinated on the campus of Utah Valley University. And we are going to be talking about Charlie, about the fallout, about his assassination, about what we know so far, and really kind of just what Charlie meant to Darryl and I. And Darryl, I'm not going to speak for you, but and just, you know, our points of view on this. I know we don't normally get super political. You know, obviously we let things slip out from time to time. But this is to us something that's important. So if you feel like this is an episode you don't want to listen to, please, you know, feel free to come back next week, and we'll be back with our Alien Earth and the Terminalist Dark Wolf and Gen V Season 2. But yeah, just humor us, and this is something that's important to us. Do you want to add anything to that, Darryl?
It's a very good intro. Yeah, we could just get started.
Okay, cool. All right. So as we know, it's been a week. It's been a rough week. I don't know about you. Just personally, for me, Charlie was a really important person for me and my daughter. Both from what he stood for, but mainly from the ability to have discourse and open and honest, fair, you know, just fair dialogue with people who, you know, don't always agree with you. And I think it's really important that we talk about that, and we celebrate that, and we, you know, talk about the things we liked about him, talk about the things where we didn't disagree. You know, but I do think for me, it's just a very important thing that I was able to have Charlie be a part of the conversations that I would have with my daughter about the things that happen in the world, with the things that are going on, and how to look at them, not just from the point of view that she has or the point of view that I have, or even Charlie's point of view, but from the wide swath of information that's available, and how to look and dig deeper for the facts through the noise.
Mm-hmm. And how did she react to when she found this out?
Well, it sucked. I didn't get to see her for a couple of days. Like, she was with her mom, and you know, I think like it was hard. She definitely, you know, like it's not something she's happy about. She was definitely sad, but at the same time, you know, we have good memories of sitting and watching him and discussing the, you know, topic of the day that was with him. I do think, you know, she's Gen Z, so, you know, she kind of falls under that majority tide turning Gen Z that, you know, really helped with the election, from what Turning Point did. And, you know, I do think a lot of what Charlie says helped her with like the foundational, just moral principles she has as a person on her own, free of my influence, free of, you know, any other input. Just, you know, I mean, you know her, she's a great kid. She is, you know, better than I deserve as a daughter. And, you know, it was just nice, to, you know, be able to sit down and, you know, I mean, have that real world conversation.
Yeah. And, you know, going back to what you said about, you know, the week, it's still one of those things that doesn't quite feel real. Like even now that it's been a week later, for me, it's, you know, I see a video, you know, because there's so many videos about this popping up, you know, you know, some of them I watch, some of them I, you know, put for later, some of them I might not watch, but every time I see his picture, it's like, man, this really happened.
Yeah.
And there's good and bad, like not that it happened, but the aftermath is that, like a lot of things that go away after a while, I truly don't think this one is going away anytime soon.
No, and it shouldn't go away. I mean, this is, you know, this is the first time that a non-governmental political activist has been assassinated since Martin Luther King Jr. There have been assassinations. Please understand that. That's not what we're saying. There were the poor Democratic senators in Minnesota who were murdered at their doors. The Speaker of the Minnesota House and her husband who were murdered in their house by a man who worked for Tim Walz. The other state senator or state representative who was, he and his wife were injured. You know, we're not mitigating that. That all happened. You know, we obviously didn't talk about it because we're not a political show, but this isn't about politics. This is about culture. And this is what we do talk about. And Charlie Krik, love him, hate him, indifferent about him, was part of the culture that we enjoy.
Yeah. And again, this is one of the things why I said it's good that it won't go away is because you know what did go away very quickly is the attempted assassination of President Trump. Yeah. The fact that a sitting president was almost killed in public and how quickly that story was buried because, he got shot on the ear, and they're making jokes about it on, people like Kimmel and stuff.
Yep. Oh yeah. Hey, Jimmy Kimmel, enjoying unemployment, Wheezy.
Yeah. That guy is, that guy is, we'll get about that. But again, all too often, with this, this society now that we have, this culture, as you say, that we have, there is so much information. There is so much, and I think I want to read the book. It's something called like Dopamine Nation or something along those lines, where there is so much you can get a quick fix. You can get a reel on Instagram or Facebook, or hey, if you're on TikTok or any of these apps where you just get that quick dopamine hit, and we're inundated with it. And again, I know a lot of times it's a choice, but millions upon millions of people can't stop with the social media,
right?
And things, and it's a desensitization of a lot of aspects of what it means to be human,
right?
And we've talked about this off the air, a little bit on the air. I've thought about this for close to a decade now, and I know you probably, because I know you've been involved with social media for a while. But as good as it is, I started saying this probably like 17 or 18, 2017 or 18. Like, as good as social media is, it can be such a downfall. It can be such a negative. And I mean, with this, I think, and again, I know it's only been a week, but from everything I've seen, and then comparing it to Trump's near assassination, even comparing it to some of the examples you gave, comparing it to Luigi's murder of the United Health CEO, which again, I know that it's not like they've been forgotten, but not at the forefront as this is. And this needs to be at the forefront because, like you said, this is about culture. This is about people showing that they have no internal compass of morality.
Right.
And I know what is one of the things, what I'm trying to think of, what you said before about people not having that internal monologue, and because if you don't have
there's people who don't have the ability to have an internal monologue. They don't know how to talk to themselves because they don't hear themselves. These are the same people. It's called an app. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It starts with an A. It's like you don't have the ability to see concepts in your head. Like if I think about an apple,
that's what it was.
I see a real apple, right? I can also think about a cartoon apple, and I can see a cartoon apple. I can think about what a spaceship should look like, and I see it in my head, and like I can like change it and build it like all through my head. And something like between 20 and 40% of people on the planet don't have that ability.
That is, I remember you telling me that, and I'm like, that is crazy.
And so anyway, it is crazy. But yeah, it's the thing about this is, and like it really what it is, and I talk a lot about the media. If any of you guys are following me on Instagram, you know my favorite saying about the media. Um, Darryl, do you want to say it for me, or
You
should I
you
say it?
don't hate them enough.
Yeah. No matter how much you hate them, you can't hate
Yeah.
them enough. Um, but like this is a narrative breaking story. This is a narrative breaking event because there's so much just lying out there. Jimmy Kimmel went on and lied about who this person was a week after it happened, who shot Charlie Kirk. Um, and we'll talk a little bit about like the assassination and what happened and it's as people who are two-way advocates, we're both shooters. Like Darryl's a much better shot than I am, but like, you know, I can hold my own, and I, you know, believe that if you're going to own a gun, you should know how to use it and take care of it and clean it and maintain it. And those are all things that I do. But at the end of the day, what this is really about is the fact that like the argument between right and left has always been settled with words. And debate is not about compromise. Debate is about winning. And if you can't win in the public square, in the shop of ideas, the answer is not to use a bullet. The real answer is to go brush up on your point of view, go brush up on your facts, and come back for round two and spar with words. We talk for roughly an hour. I mean, we talk way more than this, but like we talk to you all for roughly an hour every week. And at no point am I ever like, we had Kenny on. We both vehemently disagree with Kenny about the Superman movie. Yet all three of us were completely respectful to each other's ideas. We listened. I actually acquiesced on some of the things I didn't like because I
Yeah,
agreed with
me
Kenny.
too. Yeah.
He convinced me. Kenny has a really good way of like getting me to like get out of my head and stop being so hard on things. But that being said, we are looking at, no pun intended. Actually, you know what? Fuck that. Pun intended. We are looking at a turning point for what's happening in America. And there has been a narrative. And I don't want to monologue, so feel free to interrupt me. There's been a narrative for years that the violence comes from one side. And what we quickly learned from this is that is not true. The side that the violence comes from is the side that's pointing the fingers. And what do they say when you point your finger at somebody, Darryl?
There's another finger pointing, four fingers pointing back at you.
Well, three thumbs on a finger. But
And
anyway,
the thumb is not pointing at you.
then the thumb is not pointing at you. Anyway, but see, that's the thing that Kenny always gets on me about for being too fucking literal. But you haven't seen this right wing rioting, this right wing destruction of property, any kind of right wing reprisal other than vigils. We'll talk about Erica Kirk in a little bit, but people going on and saying the things that they remember about Charlie, which is what we're trying to do. Yeah, it's just, if this doesn't wake you up to what is actually happening and get you past the media lies, I don't know what to say for you or to you.
Yeah. And
other than, sorry,
again,
go ahead.
no, other than,
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that I've seen, and I've been, I guess I would say relieved, because I can't say I'm happy about it because of what caused this, change. But I've seen several compilations of people posting that, they never agreed with Charlie, but the fact that people are celebrating this on their side, it's these people, a lot of people are waking up. and saying, what is going on? Like, what kind of a person do you have to be to celebrate someone just because you disagreed? And again, let's backtrack first of all about the lies. Calling people on the right Nazis, calling them fascists, when you obviously don't understand the definition. And that is one of the big aspects of 1984 and things like that, where
Right.
definitions change, words change. Like Michael Savage said 25 years ago, the three most important things for like the country, he was talking about borders, language, culture.
Right.
And that's how they do it. They do that with the language, and people are parroting this out. Charlie Kirk wasn't a fascist. Charlie Kirk wasn't a racist. He wasn't a homophobe. He wasn't a Nazi. He wasn't any of those things. That lie, and that's why people like CNN, MSNBC, all these individuals like Jimmy Kimmel, all of these people, these idiots like Destiny, all of these people are the ones that have blood on their hands, because they are the ones that have been fueling the flames of this for the last 9 years. Once Trump got into office, all of that's when it kicked into high gear. And all of those people, I won't call them soulless because they have souls, but their souls are black. And again, I think this word is, a lot of times people use words overused. This is not overused. This is not hyperbole. They're evil. Because when you do stuff like that.
I thought you were going to say the N-word. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Where's your mind at, man?
It's because you're black.
But all of those things, like, and how the fact that people cheer for this. I saw another video real quick, and I thought it was more about Charlie Kirk, but it wasn't. But this woman, she had two daughters, and they were like 11 or 12, and then 8 and 9.
Allegedly, that's satire. That's a parody account. I can't prove that, but it's still sick.
But again, I don't care if it's satire or not.
I don't either.
The fact that you're putting that out there, like, again, I don't know if what's worse. Well, obviously it's worse if it's not real. If it is real, I should say. But even if it's satire, dude, read the fucking room.
Right.
That's not something you put out there. I really hope it's satire. But anyway, going back to the fact that you celebrate the death of someone for their ideas, for what they say, like, because you disagree with them and don't understand how quickly that will turn around on you, how quickly things will absolutely go to shit and fall apart if everyone takes that frame of mind. Because that's the thing. These people on the left, they don't get that us on. And again, the funny thing is, so many people that are deemed on the right aren't really on the right, but they're on the right of this leftist ridiculous ideology. So they're on the right. Like, perfect example is J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling believes the majority of the stuff the left says and does. Or not does. I won't say does. But the left's belief system.
Yeah, I mean, she agrees like 95% with the far left.
You know what she's kicked out of the club for? Because of one thing she doesn't agree with.
Ooh, can I get this one?
Yep.
Because she knows what a woman is. And by the way, Tyler Robinson's boyfriend, you are going to go down as the most misgendered person in history. Just saying. I'm not laughing about it. I'm serious. I think, I'm not dancing about it either. But like, just I hope you are mentally strong, dude. I really do.
Yeah, I honestly,
I don't want anything bad to happen to that guy.
Well, because you actually aren't like a psychopath.
Because I believe that Lance didn't know what was happening. I really do believe that, because I feel like if you knew that and you're a decent person, you would try to stop the person you care about most in the world from committing a heinous crime.
Hmm.
So sorry, I digress.
But yeah, it goes back to what you were talking about, culture and this need to do violence. And again, usually I can say both sides suck for this, that, and the other, but no, this is coming from one side. Don't try to lie. Don't try to glaze and say, with certain people saying like, "Oh, turn the temperature down." That's the only way, and having conservatives be scared. Destiny, people like that guy, you don't understand. You truly don't understand what happens to people like you if people like us, if people on the right actually decided, hey, you know what? I guess this is the way to go. None of us want that to happen. Least of all, someone like you, a coward like you. And again, he's not the only. There are plenty of examples of these people on TikTok, of these people on Instagram doing the same thing and not understanding the ramifications of what that would mean. Like you said, if three fingers were pointing back at them, because most of these people are cowards and don't truly understand violence.
Well, I don't want violence. I don't want a civil
Oh,
war.
yeah.
I don't
No,
want
that's what
anyone
I'm
to get
saying.
hurt. No, I know you are,
Yeah.
and I'm agreeing with you. But these people who are calling for it, these people who are egging it on, are also the people who aren't prepared for it. Here's what's gonna happen if like we're not like it's gonna be like, if you guys really want to understand what a civil war is, don't look at the U.S. Civil War. That was two separate countries fighting for land grabs, essentially.
No, you do look at the Civil
Well,
War.
no,
You
you
look
look
at
at
how
our
many
civil war,
people
but
died.
sure. But what I'm saying is, like, a traditional civil war is not. There's not a clear line of demarcation. There is not a
Mm,
Mason-Dixon line. Go look at
mm,
Bosnia.
mm.
Look at Sarajevo. Look what happened in the Balkans in the 80s. Like,
Yeah,
those were civil wars, and it's not going to be everywhere. There will be, the majority of the country will be untouched by it, but where there is
yeah,
fighting, there will be fighting.
yeah,
Um, and so it's like the Revolutionary War, for example. Only like 2% of colonists fought back against the British.
hmm
In the
yeah,
Civil War, it was less than 8% of the total population that fought in the Civil War, yet it was massive casualties, right?
right.
But at the end of the day, the people who are calling for this are wholly unprepared. I mean, within 2 weeks in cities, if we decide, like, hey, just turn the power off, turn their water off, like, tell Los Angeles can be like, hey, guess what? We're going to turn your water off, and we're going to see how long it takes for the desert to reclaim you in San Francisco and Las Vegas. It's really not that hard. And like, they'll be eating each other within 2 weeks.
Yeah, and like you said, those are the people that aren't prepared for it. The
Right.
ones that are, no one with one a halfway decent intelligence, a halfway decent understanding of history, an understanding of violence would want something like that to happen.
Right.
Uh,
And,
it-
and Charlie wouldn't want that to happen.
no,
So, I mean, and that's the important thing, right? Is that Charlie was teaching us how to not come together, because I personally don't think that's ever going to happen, but to not be at each other's throats. Don't hate each other. Listen to each other. Agree to disagree. Now, there is a side, and it's not the entirety of the left. So when I say there's a side within the left that
Mhm.
have done things that are so unforgivable that they're never going to be able to get right with what they've done to their children.
oh yeah,
And so there will be no forgiveness in their hearts for anyone else, because they'll never be able to admit what they have done. Plain and simple.
yes, yeah,
And those are the people who we have to have the biggest hearts for, that we have to have the most conversations with, that we have to listen to them, have sympathy for them, and then move on, with or without them.
hmm
Plain and simple. We don't have to teach them. We don't have to coach them. We don't have to educate them. We just have to listen. And then we have to agree to disagree. And maybe they'll come to grips with what they've done. Maybe they won't. But at the end of the day, the mission moving forward should be discussion, debate. The best idea wins.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And of course, that's a subjective thing. But we are a country built on revolution, but we are also a country built on debate. We had an entire constitutional Congress where the fine folks in Montreal debated why they didn't want to be a part of America, and now they're stuck in Canada.
Sorry.
I'm just trying to add a little bit of levity. I don't want it to be, you know me, I can't be super serious all the time. It's just not who I am. Okay. So Charlie is at this event. There's a sniper. Obviously we don't know the sniper until he gets shot. There's been a lot of information out there. I've seen a lot of like YouTube gun people who are like, "Oh, I'm a Marine and I couldn't make that shot." And it's like,
then you don't. No, you're not a Marine.
I saw some guy like talking about how like because it's a World War II Mauser gun that belonged to the kid's grandpa, and he's like, "It would take me an hour to break this gun down." Well, you know how you can break a gun that you own down faster, dude? You practice. I love how people pretend like this was like this spur of the moment thing. And it's like, this was a planned execution. This is a person who had so much hate that they planned, went to the spot and executed on what they were trying to do. Now, here's the one thing. You know what SPAL is? Spalling. So Charlie had a vest on. The bullet hit him in the chest, and he had on a metal plate. He didn't have on a ceramic plate. Mm-hmm. And the bullet, so it's called spalling. The bullet travels up, and because Charlie's a chronic leaner, he's either leaning forwards or backwards, and he happened to be leaning slightly forward. The bullet traveled up. And like you can see it, you see the bullet, you see the shockwave hit his chest, and then you see the bullet come up through his shirt. Like there's 100 ways that Charlie could have survived that. There's only one way it could have gone wrong. So I mean, it was as much as it was like a shot and someone did that. It was also kind of a freak accident that this happened because he was like, he did not go out into public without some kind of protection. Mm-hmm. So, it's just the gun community right now. Like there's so many like people who are like, well, just because I can't do this, it can't be done. And I'm like, I disagree with that wholly. I think if you have the will to do something and, this kid had the will to do this, he had the organization to help him get this done, allegedly. And he executed to the best of his ability, which, again, if you listen to the people who have talked about him, he was actually really good at shooting because he was a hunter since he was a little kid. Does this mean we should take guns away from people? Absolutely fucking not. If there might have been more people with guns, and let's be honest about this was a school shooting. This isn't a gun-free zone. If there might have been people with guns, somebody could have seen him and taken him out.
Yeah.
So
and this is
that's
the thing.
A lot of what if, and
yeah.
I don't really want to get into that, but it's just.
But it goes back to the point of people lying about him and what he said, and him talking about gun death, and to have our Second Amendment. Unfortunately, there will have to be gun death, and that's what people. Some sickos are holding on to, like, well, you live by the sword, you die. No, he didn't live by the sword. You don't understand. Again, not understanding language. But I just got this breaking news that President Trump is designating Antifa as a major terrorist organization.
Finally.
he says, I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices.
Ooh, Act Blue, you're going down.
So that like
That's
literally
awesome.
just popped up.
That's great. So, I mean, that's really good news. I mean, yeah, that's good to know. All right, let's talk about Charlie for a second. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are like saying he deserved this. There's people who are dancing. There are demonic people who are laughing about it without eyebrows on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
He There's a couple places where like people just take what he says out of context. The first one is they call him a racist and a misogynist because they say he said all black women don't have the mental capacity to, you know, do their jobs or exist. When in reality, he was talking specifically about Ketanji Brown Jackson, Joy Reid, and Michelle Obama, who all said that they got where they were because of affirmative action.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so, but like people just like to glom onto that one part of it, and people don't look at it. The other one was the Second Amendment and gun deaths. He says, you will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have the cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. It is prudent. It is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. That's the entire quote. So he was at the TPUSA event in 2023, and he was talking about the trade-offs involved with an arms citizenry. Now, most people just stop at, you'll never live in a society, or they stop at, I think it's worth it to have the cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment. And that's all they talk about. So this is the whole out of context thing about why we can't hate the media enough. No matter how much we hate them, we can't hate them enough. So here's the thing. You know, there were shootouts in the Wild West, right? But you know the towns that had the most problems? The towns that did not let people keep their guns when they entered the city limits.
Mm-hmm.
Because inevitably, somebody would sneak a gun in. They would lose at cards. They would lose at something. They would be slighted in some unfathomable way. And then bang, some small firearm comes out and the person dies. An armed society is a very polite society. Like if you don't know if the person is holding, you're going to be less likely to pull something out. So, you know, so there was those two incidences. You know, there's the civil rights and DEI. You know, he talks about how it was a huge mistake to have passed the civil rights because pre-civil rights, the black community, pre the Civil Rights Act, not pre-civil rights. The black community had a lot more money than they do now because they had the dads in the home. And then post-civil rights, the government actually funded black women to get rid of the men in their lives.
Yeah, you look at all these. I mean, Detroit is a perfect example of like that in the black community. Like, you know, some of these other black, like, you know, primarily black cities back in the 50s and, you know, and 60s and such. And look at them now and look at the rates of, you know, these, you know, single parent homes and, you know, the per capita income. It fell off a cliff. And
well, and you look at the state of education too, where these kids like LeBron James's school in Akron, there hasn't had an 8th grader pass the proficiency test in 3 years in any subject.
That is so sad.
And that is a school that is funded by a billionaire.
That is.
I mean, other billionaires have funded schools in Africa, and all those girls got trafficked. So, I mean, I don't think Oprah maybe did that on purpose. I don't think she did. But, you know, these are the things that happen when billionaires get involved with education. But no, like Baltimore, there's not a single kid in any public school who reads at their grade level. Not a single one. Like San Francisco, the city of San Francisco has some of the worst public schools in America.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know where all the tech people's kids go? Private schools.
Yep.
So, you know, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I can't necessarily wrap my head around all of that and why it happens that way, but you know, it does, and it's sad, and you know, it's you know, it makes me feel bad for these kids, but also like it really makes me mad at the Democrats because they fight against school choice. And this is something Charlie was very adamant about, with school choice and giving these kids the ability to go. And then there's the false equivalency argument there. It's like, well, a single mom can't afford to get up and move. It's like, well, no, but that's where the school choice comes into play. You can pick the better schools around where you live and apply and get it and hopefully get in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like you live in Cincinnati and you're going to apply to a school in Cleveland without, you know, moving to Cleveland first. So, you know, anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those are just some of the things, like, you know, the whole DEI thing. Like, he said, if you see a black pilot, you have to wonder if they're DEI. And that's because the scores got lowered for everybody who wasn't a white male pilot.
Yeah.
So,
and I've had firsthand, you know, well, not me personally, but, you know, I've had cousins, again, this was decades ago, where they started doing that, you know, for some of these jobs like, you know, firefighters, and trying to give them lower standards. And, you know, that's a slap in the face. That somebody did that and said, hey, you know what, we'll make this easier on you, you know, because you're black or because you're a man or a woman. You should, you know what, you should be offended by that.
You should say, you know what, I'm going to do better than what you have. I'm not going to do the minimum. If I have to do 1, I'm going to do 5.
Yeah. And that's not, and again, that's, I get that, because you know why? Because I would think the same thing. And it's one of those things where you talk about the inner voice, or the, you know, that the inner monologue and stuff. And, you know, sometimes mine talks way too much, but, you know, because I'm always thinking.
You only have one.
Well, they said they were just one person, but who knows? But
wait, did you catch babies? Anyway, sorry.
But along those lines, it's because there are times where it, you know, not having to do with DEI, I see myself looking at a situation or looking at a person and then trying to back up instead of, you know, painting that person as a particular way. And it's like trying to say, okay, I don't necessarily know that person. However, when you have a company saying, okay, we want 40% of our workforce to be X, Y, or Z. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean X, Y, or Z as in educated, as in going through all these certifications, but from a gender or racial standpoint, that lets me know that you're not looking for the best person for the job.
Right.
Because if you have 8% or 6% right now and you want to get to 40%, you're going to be cutting corners, because that's how it's going to be.
Well, like Cash on the Hill today, they reinstituted the old standards for the FBI. And as he was being,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, as he was being grilled, they're like, "Well, why would you do that? You're gonna disallow certain people because they just can't do that." And he's like, "Yeah, these people need to chase down criminals. They need to be physically fit."
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never understood how some of these law enforcement people, you look at them and it's like, oh, they're definitely shooting you because they can't run.
Yeah.
Or the instances where you see a female officer, no, because I've seen male officers that don't know how to defend themselves.
Mm-hmm. I think those are still female officers, to be honest.
But like, I don't get. I don't. And again, I just don't get. I'm glad they're doing that. I'm glad they're doing that.
So, yeah. So I guess when it comes to Charlie and the response, there have been vigils every night, prayer services, stuff happening in the Capitol and things like that. Obviously, the Turning Point headquarters in Arizona. There have been events and there have been sick people who have been coming through and disrupting things. One guy was wearing the same T-shirt as the shooter, which was pretty sick. He got arrested, thankfully. And then his wife, she gave remarks on last Friday night, and I was just so incredibly impressed with Erica Kirk, with her composure and the way she delivered her message after just losing her husband. I mean, I know if something happened to your significant other or something happened to my wife, like, we'd be messes. Like, we wouldn't be able to go on on the internet and give that kind of reassurance to your followers and your fans and your family and your friends about, hey, we are Charlie.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that helped her do that, her faith, and also the fact that she is speaking for more than herself,
right?
And that type of selflessness and that type of understanding is very difficult and a lot of. There are people that have that, but we see so many people that are so narcissistic and selfish. A lot of these people we're talking
Candace
about
Owens. Oh, excuse me.
that have. I was talking more about the people that like just social media in general.
Oh, I thought we were talking about grifters. My bad.
Yeah, but to have that strength.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah.
With the decorum and with everything that she showed.
With your favorite word.
I mean that's gravitas. Mm-hmm. With the gravitas.
She was dripping in gravitas. She was dripping in Riz.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the dark side about this for a second. So the internet became a place where I just didn't want to be on it anymore.
So Wednesday it happened. I didn't get online. I got on YouTube, but that was it. But I didn't get on anything else until like Saturday, I think, or Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean, we haven't talked in a few days. I mean,
yeah. And I realized when I went and saw because I usually have I would usually have, like, if I'm not on there for 2 days, like 30 reels from you, and it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So
I was actually sharing everything with the repost feature, and
yes,
in
which
my
by the way,
stories.
Yeah.
By the way, what?
Oh, by the way, like the repost feature, I've been using that too lately. I finally understand what you've been talking about. Yeah,
it's great. And also,
it's great.
It's great for 2 things. One, I can share things so they're not only out for 24 hours. And 2, I can share things and I can go back and I know where I put them.
Yes.
So there's that. But all right. So there have been what I like to call the Inhumans, the ghouls, the lowest rung of inhumanity on the internet, who have been celebrating and dancing on the grave of this person. And these people have a very short memory, because I seem to remember a time nary half a decade ago where people who didn't want to, who wanted to live by my body, my choice, didn't want to inject themselves with things. And, as 2 of those people, we were called some pretty horrible things. We were told that it was going to be the winter of our death. We were told by shitheads like Jimmy Kimmel, again, enjoy unemployment, Wheezy, that we don't deserve medical treatment if we get sick, that we should just be left to die. And so for the last last 10 years, these people had the impunity to enjoy their First Amendment right to free speech, free of consequence. But we live in a different world now. And we live in a world where we watch a 31-year-old father and husband, son and brother gunned down needlessly. And the best thing that has come from this, and we have a list. We're not going to go through all of them. I'm only going to talk about one of them, of people who have been losing their jobs in the gaming and comic book industry. So we're going to bring it back to our core audience here. But one person in particular, his name is Gretchen Felker-Martin. ChatGPT wouldn't help me find his real name. So Gretch, sorry, dude. This guy was writing the new Red Hood book for DC. In the past, this person had written things about cops committing suicide and said, oh, well, I didn't really think too much of it because they're not human. He was very happy when Charlie Krik died. And what did this cost him, Darryl?
Well, cost him the Red Hood books because DC canceled it immediately. And I'm assuming, and I can't confirm or deny this, but I'm pretty assuming that because they cut it immediately, they also cut ties with Gretchen.
They did. And they canceled books 2 and 3, and they offered a full refund for returned books for issue 1.
Even stuff that was sold, actually.
Even the stuff that was sold. So,
yeah.
So if you have a copy of this book and you keep it, you are part of the problem.
Yeah. And again,
so this person, this man, this Gretchen Felker-Martin has had a lot of baggage in the social media section. DC really dropped the ball on this one. I seem to remember a certain head of DC Studios, not Peter Safran, who got canceled for old tweets from his days as a free radical filmmaker. You might remember James Gunn making jokes about priests. James Gunn did not deserve to get fired from Disney. He eventually got his job back to make Guardians 3. James Gunn did not necessarily deserve to get fired from Disney because he was exercising his free speech. Disney decided there was a consequence to that, and then there was enough uproar that they said, oh, okay, this actually doesn't make people mad. This man thought they could speak with free of consequence and learn the hard way that you can't, that you have to recognize the basic humanity of the world to participate in the world.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad you said that because there are people that are trying to frame this as, well, you all were against cancel culture and trying to frame this as, free speech. And yes, you know what? Like you just said, you can say whatever you want as long as you're ready to accept the consequences of what you say.
Yeah. And here's the bloody damned good thing about this. These people are getting fired. They're not getting punched in the face.
Yes.
Whereas the other way around, you have men like Aaron Danielson walking down the street in Portland, Oregon, has a MAGA shirt on, takes two 9mm bullets to the chest. Without even saying a word to anyone, without any interaction, man pulls out a gun and shoots him in the chest. For exercising his free speech to wear what he wants to wear. Again, nothing objectionable. And honestly, I don't even really object to these people doing this because here's the two things. One, cool, you've shown me who you are. Two, you've shown me you're a threat and you're not safe to be around. I don't want to be around you. I don't want my children around you. I don't want my friends around you. I don't want my family around you. Darryl,
Yes.
I definitely don't want them around you. So yeah, please continue to show us who you are. Mostly peaceful memes. We'll continue adding you to the database, and they will continue reaching out to your employers. Now, that being said, there is always room for forgiveness. There really is. Unfortunately, most of you are narcissists. And
Yes.
you think the world revolves around you because you're an entire group of main character syndrome having douchebags.
Yes. And
So.
what you said, yes, I appreciate their honesty. I appreciate finding out what slime balls you are, what soulless individuals, because you know what? I was on the fence about Ghost of Yote because they changed the main character
Girl
and
boss,
they
baby.
put it into a woman, and I wanted more of Jin Sakai. Like even if they change it to another male character, I would have been on it because I wanted more of Jin Sakai.
Correct.
Like I said that when I heard this, but I was back and forth, and then Drew Hernandez, who's a game dev for Sucker Punch and worked on Ghost of Yote, made jokes about Charlie Kirk's death, and then I will say Sucker Punch fired her, and then she said, if losing my dream job of 10 years for standing up to fascists, I would do it 100 times harder. So back to that narrative, or not the narrative, but the narcissistic aspect of main character. She thinks in her story she's the hero. And again, there are plenty of other people. There's a bunch of people from Blizzard, and Blizzard. I haven't heard anything about what Blizzard said.
Microsoft put out a very weak,
Microsoft did put something out
a very
because they
weak,
own
thing. Yeah.
But if you really want to break down of this stuff, Legendary Drops and Endymion TV on YouTube. First of all, if you're into gaming at all, follow those two channels. They're not the only ones, but follow those two channels. But for this stuff, these are the two guys that I've been following who have done just yeoman's work of keeping track of these, especially Endymion. He's done a great job of showing the receipts of, and again, he's not necessarily the one that got them, but it's yeoman's work, pointing these people out and letting hey, Microsoft, because somebody did say, Microsoft, what do you think about this? And that's when Microsoft, I think they responded to what you just said they did. But you know what? It's saving me money. I'm not going to buy that. There's no way I'm touching that game now. No. Not even like. And then Epic Games, which is for people that don't know, Epic Games is the one behind the ridiculous Fortnite, which I still can't believe that thing is still going strong, but whatever.
Wait, you didn't like Fortnite before?
No. But Todd Sweeney, he's actually out of this whole group of people because he's CEO, and his wasn't as ghoulish, but I believe Clemson University, put something out that they will not be tolerating, any, hate speech or what. However, I don't know exactly how they framed it about, this incident with Charlie Krik and all that stuff. And he called into question the aspect of a public university talking about, free speech or what, or basically throttling free speech. And it's funny because in Fortnite, there's a whole host of things that you cannot do in the game that might be deemed hate speech or offensive. You can't even talk about China. You can't even diss China.
Yeah.
So, and again, like I said, compared to what these other ghouls have said, I'm not going to put him on blast as he's in like the celebration mode of Charlie Kirk's death. I'm not going to do that because that's not right. But again, it's one of those things going back to reading the room. Like even things that aren't just like morally reprehensible, like Gretchen and some of these other people have liked tweets or tweeted, or Drew Harrison have done. You have to read the room. You have to stop and say, is this the right time for me to say this? Especially when my game throttles so much of what people can say and will ban people at the blink of an eye.
Right.
So the gaming industry as a whole is full of narcissists, is full of leftist lunatics who see others who don't agree with them as subhuman. And again, going back to Legendary Drops and Indie Beyond TV, they cover a lot of this stuff, not just for the Charlie Kirk aspect, but for gaming as a whole. And, for the last year and a half, I've been listening off and on to them, Legacy Killer. There's a couple other ones that the gaming industry are full of people like this.
Right.
And something, and this is just only intensified or highlighted how bad they are because they've spoken out against quote unquote their idea of fascists and Nazis, but I have not ever seen them actually celebrate a death until now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I know, because I know these people at Blizzard, these people at Sucker Punch, and even though I said it's not Todd Sweeney, there were instances of people from Epic Games, these translators from Square Enix, that are celebrating this.
Yeah.
And unless people like this are wholesale fired, and these companies speak out against it, which, like you said, to be fair, like you said, Microsoft did put something out. I didn't see anything. I don't think at this time Sucker Punch hadn't put anything out, but they, I might have missed it. Blizzard hadn't put anything out, I don't believe. Until they start saying, okay, you know what? What's more important? Our bottom dollar or these crazy lunatics we have working for us being able to say what they want and still be employed?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think you know the answer.
Yeah. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing more of these people. And like you said, it's I am all for when even people do really bad things. Again, forgiveness does not mean, we're buddy buddy now.
Right.
Forgiveness, what that means is, especially if somebody wrongs you, forgiveness is for you to let go of that pain and that anger that will be an albatross around your neck, even if it's rightfully so, even if you're justified in your anger. But that doesn't mean, we have to be buddies. That doesn't mean I even have to talk to you.
I mean, I'm actually actively choosing not to talk to people now because of this.
Right. Well, this isn't the same thing as saying these people on this
Right.
conservative is a terrible. No, this is beyond the pale of people celebrating. I saw someone that I mean, again, I used to work with a while back. They, again, going back to the lies, they posted a video of Kirk with those snippets of these things that he said, and this person talked about how much of a scum he was for a paragraph, and then at the last sentence, no one deserves to die, even a scum like this.
Right.
And it's I choose not to engage, because what does that do for me? It does nothing.
Right.
So, but like you said, I didn't go around hunting for it was one of those things I just happened to run into, because honestly, if at least this person wasn't celebrating the death, if there's someone that I knew that actually did celebrate that, then again, it goes beyond having a difference of opinion. Yeah. I don't care if you have a difference of opinion on me. It doesn't matter what. But what I do care about is that you're not a psychopath. You're not a ghoul that would celebrate the death of a 31-year-old man,
right,
for the words that he says, because they're different than what you agree with.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're absolutely right. It's sad. It's super, super sad, but I guess this is the world that we live in now, and it's what we're going to have to put up with, unfortunately.
I am not going to give in or give up on the world as a whole. I know people like the fun thing, the easy thing to say, and I think people just love using the word cooked. But like the U.S. is cooked, this is cooked, that's cooked. It is if you stop talking. And I'm going to leave with this, and it's something that Charlie said. And this was, I think it was earlier this year. I'm not sure, but this is one of the most like thoughtful answers of something and how things get to where they are. When people stop talking, really bad stuff starts.
Right.
When marriages stop talking, divorce happens. When civilizations stop talking, civil war ensues. When you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to want to commit violence against that group. And if you want to know more about ideas like that and the mindset of like that, I would suggest you read Eric Hoffer's True Believer. It shows you how people become like this in mass movements, how they start seeing the people they disagree with not as people they disagree with, but as their enemies, as subhuman. And they're justified in doing what they need to do to have their ideas be the ones that blankets whatever country or whatever nation that they're in.
Yeah.
Think on that.
I think that's a good spot to end it. So, if you want to donate, head over to Turning Point USA. They've got all the information there. There's a link in the show notes to Turning Point USA. I think, if you're a college student or high school kid listening, college students, check out Turning Point USA on campus. If it's not there, start one. For high school kids, I think it's called Club USA. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I do know the questions about applications and how the process has more than doubled in the last week.
They got 32,000 over the first 3 or 4 days after he was killed. It's called Club America in high schools. So if you want, you can check out the Club America chapter at your school, or if you don't have one, again, you can start one, and you can find all those resources on tpusa.com. Yeah, man, this is weird. It's gonna be strange not having new content from Charlie and new debates from Charlie, and the funny, like, clickbaity, like, somebody owns somebody, when in reality it was just a conversation. And it's like, it's like, no, this was actually a really good conversation. Like right before we hopped on, I was listening to him talking to this kid, and he kept talking about, it's a perspective of the culture. He was a black kid talking about black culture, but didn't actually know anything about black culture, which was pretty funny. His whole thing about systemic racism and rights that he didn't have was, he walked into some fancy suit store and they gave him a dirty look.
Okay.
Hey, dude, I work in a building with a bunch of finance bros, and I wear shorts and long sleeve hoodies every day. You want to talk about getting dirty looks? And you know why I'm getting dirty looks? Because they're jealous that I make more money than they do, and I get to dress like I'm a homeless person. So anyway, all right. Cool. Well, I honestly, like, to everybody who is friends and family of Charlie Krik, thank you for sharing him with us. Thank you for letting us have him for 31 years as a part of our lives. I hope his kids grow up knowing, like, how much he loved them, and they get to, like, they're lucky they get to watch their dad. Like, I imagine that's not lucky. Lucky would be having him around. But they're never going to forget what he looked like, and they're never going to forget the sound of his voice. And not everybody who loses a parent gets to have that. So,
and they'll know what he stood for.
They will absolutely know what he stood for. So you're right. All right. thank you for indulging us for the last 64 minutes. We do appreciate you. We love you all. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and remember, just I know, like when you're with buddies and you are arguing about comics or movies or stuff, that's fine. But when there's really real ideas going around, where there's something that's really close to your heart, it doesn't matter if someone has a different opinion. Just listen to them.
Yeah.
Just because, again, that doesn't mean you're going to change your opinion.
Right.
But it does mean you might think of something. Think of it in a way that you didn't think about it before.
I mean, really, in comics, there's only one wrong opinion.
That Batman is the best superhero?
No, that Wolverine's a great character.
I go with the Batman thing.
I mean, Batman's not the best, but like Wolverine sucks. Anyway,
coming back to comics.
On that note, yeah, love and respect. You don't even have to love each other. You just respect each other.
Yes.
Like just like if someone gives you respect, you return respect. If someone gives you disrespect, you try to give respect.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, the best thing you can say is nothing and just walk away.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week to our normal shenanigans, with appropriately placed humor, not the inappropriately placed humor of this episode, where it just slipped out and was needed because, yeah. All right, guys. Darryl, I'll give you the last words.
Be kind.
The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. You can find new episodes every Sunday on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, our website, or anywhere podcasts are downloaded. This show is hosted by Darryl Jasper and me, Brian Tudor. To find more information about the show, visit us at infamouspodcast.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Infamous Podcast to keep up with the show. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/infamouspodcast. We have some great rewards for our patrons and are looking for help to grow the show to bring you more of the content you want to hear. Music for this podcast is provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. So, whenever you're listening to us, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.